Ooh, 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 yeah. Okay, let's bow in. Hey, onegaishimasu. Okay, so we'll start a little bit. I'm just going to do one thing, just on all of them. I want you to just keep the eyes out and imagine that they're going to like hit the horizon. So you can imagine like a horizon line straight across. Just imagine the eyes are going to kind of hit it. Now, when you do this one, there's a reason for this in this one that, apart from, it's really much better from the posture. And you can play with like if the head goes down and the head goes up, how it changes the body. But just have the sense of, for all these exercises we do, in the Seitai stuff, like the eyes just kind of rest on the horizon and beyond it as well. But just get the sense of here. And this was always described in the Seitai stuff, this action of like, it's actually looking out onto the horizon. It's an action of like raising up, being high, being tall, long, and actually looking out. So just have this kind of sense of opening your view out. It's hard to do with in a little room, but anyway. Let's get a sense of the vertical. And the other thing to get a sense of is like really how high you can get up. So which means like not also being aware of the toes, but being aware of the arch of the foot, which is really going to like be the kind of spring for the body to like raise up. So see that whole part of the foot can really like raise and stretch up. So you have a lot of mobility in that. If I just keep it to like the toes, there's something like that. But if I start to bring that movement also into with the arch of the foot, got a much like wider range of motion in it. And only a little bit, but that matters a lot. So, just feel like one long continuous line from the base of the toes, the way up the body, legs, up to the hips, all the way up the body into the spine, and then out through the neck, and right through the top of the head. Just one big long line. And it's a long, lengthy line, but it's not like a rigid straight line because the body's not rigid straight line. So just get a sense of something like drawing up and out. And as you do, just going to take two or three really deep breaths. So what you do is just imagine you're going to lengthen through the whole body, and the ribcage is going to open and expand. So really like deeply in at the top, and then as you come down, rather than like collapsing the body, just keep that length. As you go out, breathe out. And the feeling when you do the breath out is like the stomach's like going to press away from the belt. So if you've got pants on or you've got a belt on, it's a bit easier. But the sense is rather than like, it's like this like moves away from it. So you've got the first thing, which is like an expansion up and out. And as you come down, just keep that expansion here, keep the length in the torso here, and then just let it go. And it means like a kind of a little bit of a tightening in the abdominals, but especially this kind of movement. And this is known as like a decompression breath. So this is not working in like a compressive state where the body's like, ugh, but it's actually like decompressing and lifting the body up off the ground. So we'll just do one more. It's like this. Deeply in, and also to the back of the ribcage as well. So imagine like the ribs are going to push towards the back of the wall, and then let it out. And what I want to really get away, especially in this length sense, is like these kind of positions with the body, where the ribs going to collapse, the shoulders get drawn forward, and the neck gets pulled forward. So the more I can kind of open that area, especially in the rib cage, the more the shoulders will naturally widen, low, and fall back. And the more the neck will start to kind of pull up, the eyes will start to raise. And then the head's like floating on the rib cage, rather than the head being sunken down into it. And it's just a feeling of like being lengthened longer again. So we're going now just to this position, just coming backwards and forwards. And just working to, again, just nice and low. Again, really playing with the feet and the mobility in the feet. And especially now, like the ankle, really playing with how the ankle and the toes like interact. Or in this case, really the arch of the foot again. So the arch and the heels. And you can also explore this with just one foot down, makes it a bit easier. Just to explore one foot at a time. So I can go into the heel, I can go into the toes, just to explore. And again, look out a little bit into the horizon. So keep the body kind of looking out. Just trying to feel what's going on in the legs. You're just using like a front, back. And just really exploring. Once you kind of explore the feet individually, you just start to go to like, again, both together. With a different kind of movement now. That. Okay. You do the same thing, just do 3 deep breaths. Now it's a bit trickier because you've not got like a position I come to and then I come back. What I want you to do is you find the out breath, the relaxation breath, what you're gonna do is just come back towards the center of the body. So you can explore like front and back with the in breath, like just imagine like drawing and opening the lungs. But long and deep, and then as you breathe out again, keeping that length, just let the body like settle back into the ground, back into the center, and then just go again. You can also like bend forward through it, and then come back. So just explore the body in front and back. Also to the back, you can do it here. Expanding, opening, and then let it go. A bit more tricky than the last one. And then just one more. And coming back to center as you breathe out. There. Okay, and then coming side to side. Again, just explore mobility first. Really playing with the feet. And especially when now we're in the footwork. In the sides of the feet. So you really got working like the blades of the feet in this case. You want to explore a little bit like the weight transferring across one leg. And do these kind of actions. There's very simple stuff, but just letting the weight kind of carry over to one side of the body. And at the same time as exploring that like side to side shift, also explore like the rib cage again. And especially now the lower part of the rib cage, which is a really hard part to kind of access, especially like the back of the ribs here, this whole part, just get a sense that you can really start to mobilize it a lot. So you've got a kind of wave passing through the spine. So. And just imagine you can start to take it like you've got side to side, and you've also got like swaying, like a kind of rolling sway, which is a kind of a nicer movement in terms of mobility. You've got this really interesting thing happening when the body shifts over. In Seitai, this always describes like it's the movement dancers use when they do dancing, when they do their movements. And then again, just work with these breaths into it as well, so you can kind of come over. And every time, just let the body settle naturally back down. I want that original sense of length again, so you're kind of using this movement also to kind of create space in the lungs, create space in the rib cage especially. And just bring the breath down. Each time just come back to the center. In and out. And one nice one you can do from this is like a round movement. So you go like here. And then just let the body kind of settle back down. So, good. Got it. Okay, good. We go to the rotation. Just let the body to rotate. In this case, let the back leg go as well. So just let everything kind of come out of that back foot. So there's almost all the weight goes to the front for this leg. And the back leg's got like the big toe maybe in the ground. Very light in the other foot. Just imagine like you're not only passing a rotation through the body, but you're like spiraling through the limb, the whole limb structure as well. So the legs are going to coil, the arms are going to kind of coil as well. Yeah, that's it. That's it, good. Nice. I'm working with this idea of like decompression or creating space in the body. Just watch this. What I don't want to do is like twist the body in these kind of positions, where I'm like trapping myself. So I end up in like this kind of position. So get a sense with this one, like you keep this long, you keep the neck wide as well, but all the shoulders stay wide. This is also nice to do without the coil, without the kind of wrapping of the arm. So you just do something like that. Now this feels much wider. And the sense of like creating width, length to the back, and the sense like the ribcage floating on the body. And the neck also an extension of that. But just get a sense of that. You can do this with the wrapping of the arms as well. A little bit more tricky to find the sense of the ribcage. There. There. Good. Yeah, that's it. And then for the breath work in this one, you can do this. This is a nice one. You go like this. This one we do sometimes when we do the stretching, and then just let it go. Again, back to the center. You kind of gather up. Then let the breath expand everything. Lift, raise, and then just let it go. You could also play this one like raising the arm up over the top and like coming into a spiral. So you've got this kind of sense. And then back to the center. Again, keeping the length, keeping the sense of width, outwards and upwards, basically. Set. Good. Great. Okay, last one. The wave. Just kind of come into here. Okay, I'm going to slightly change it. Just try it like this. It's a little bit awkward, but it's a really nice way to get the movement. So what you're going to do is rather than like the feet be here, you're going to touch the big toes together. So you're in this kind of position. Now you're going to have the toes slightly coming together, and the thighs are going to like, when you come to this position, it's like you're squeezing the thighs. It's like you've got a walnut between the legs, and you're trying to crack it. It's got that kind of quality. The whole body's going to go into this kind of move. And then what? Again, just watching this one, that I don't like compress the body down. So it's not a case that when you fold the body, you're going to like go into this kind of position. You're going to kind of go down and keep the length through the whole body. So especially in the spine and in the rib cage, all this area, and the shoulders as well. So even when the shoulders come in this kind of position, I want to keep them kind of long. And then as you come out, just open it out again. It's a little bit more restricted. You won't have the same kind of level of mobility, but just get the sense that you come into the structure here. Now you want the feeling like everything's pulling towards the center. So that's like this is like a practice of like drawing everything towards the center, and then maintaining that sense, just expanding it out. Keep the knees kind of free as you do it, but just like have the sense of squeezing towards the thighs, come into contact, and then you release it. Roll it in, release it. Roll it in, release it. Just kind of play with that a little bit. That's it. You might feel a little bit like unbalanced with it because you've got a very small base, so that's why the mobility is a little bit more limited. But that's it. That's it. Good. And we just play with these two positions. You can put the feet naturally how you want them now. But just get a sense that you're going to use the front movement only. So you're just going to like breathe in and then out. And as you breathe out, again, just roll back to the center. I want to again create a kind of length through the body. So you've got this like nice, interesting movement where you come into the center and then out. And just let the body find its natural length as you come back. And then in again. And down. Okay, good. And then the other side of this is like the back movement. So you've got this like opening of the arms this way. So it's like an external movement this way. The body's like bowing out to the back. The shoulders are really opening so that it's like the thumbs move externally here. Again, use the breath to kind of open this area out. And then just let it go again. It's less about mobility now, just about the structure of the body. Much more about bringing some length and expansion into the core. Blow the body back. And then just coming back. Good. And then just explore between these two, so keep the breath a bit free. And you'll find your own pattern with it. Sometimes like the breath out as you go down. Sometimes the breath out as you go back. It doesn't actually matter, but what matters is the length through the body. And you want to feel like this whole structure from the hips all the way up the spine into the rib cage, including the neck, head, top of the head, everything is like one really solid structure. But it's like a big expanded floating structure. One of the images for this is like a hot air balloon. So big, expanded, and like lifted off the ground. So it's got a sense of quality of being lifted or raised off the ground. Now, of course, you're attached to the ground. So the best image with the hot air balloon is like you've got these big thick ropes that attach it to the ground, that tether it to the ground. And those are your legs and your hands in this case. The hands aren't attached to the ground, but the legs are. So just like this.
Sorry, what is it? A pop Everly?
You know, a hot air balloon like this, they fly in the sky, you fill them with hot air and they go.
Hot air balloon.
Okay. Yeah, you know these? I'll send you a picture. Hot air balloon. And the lungs are like this, you're going to kind of expand them open. And they've got a really nice shape as well. When you look at these hot air balloons, they've got like big, they look like teardrops. Most of them look like kind of teardrop shapes. So you've got this kind of nice shape with them as well. That's it. Got it. So these exercises are like mobilizing the spine. I talked to Keith about a book. There's an incredible book called Awakening the Spine. And it's a kind of yoga book from the yoga tradition, but it's more of a body, what we call like a body being book. It's like how to use the body in daily life. Incredible book. And one of the images she uses also in this book is a hot air balloon to kind of explain some of the principles. So you want to not only like unlock the spine, I want to like really free it to be able to take its kind of proper position, which for us humans is like lengthened and extended and up. That's the kind of way we want to use the spine. Let's play with it a little bit. And then just really explore the feet, just take it wherever you like. And just explore the directions, explore the breath, take it wherever you want. Start to bring the hands into it as well if you like. Just feel that everything's mobile, free. And in this case, again, just keep the sense of a little bit like you're looking out onto the horizon. So there's something kind of out. You're going to move with it, and you're going to move in relationship with the ground and the kind of level ground in front of you. We were talking a little bit yesterday about like the sight or the vision. Like what you do with the eyes is really important. The body will kind of follow that. So where you look, the body will kind of go to. And you can explore a little bit like just dropping the eyes. So as soon as I just drop the eyes, the body will just start to go there. I start to raise the eyes up. Body tends to follow. I can resist it and fight it, but I want to use that later. Especially in true Aikido, when we do these kind of movements, when we go down, you are actually taking it down. I don't want to be pushing down and like looking at, doing like a contraction. So just let the eyes settle on the horizon. That's it. That's it. And the main thing now as you do these, why I minimize the work on the hands is because try not to move from the hands. So you really want to sense that what you're moving from is the hips. So it's like really a sense that the hips are pliable and supple. So it's got this kind of quality. And that's really this whole area and this kind of decompression is like, that's the joining part for this part of the body, the legs. And the shoulder is really important for us because that's the joining part for this part of the body. But the really key part of your body is this whole part of the body. The arms and the legs are useful, but not totally essential. Essential for sword work a little bit, or movement in general. Just moving around. And just introduce now a little bit of rotation work. So kind of coming in, just let the body go with it. And again, we were looking yesterday at like spotting with the eyes. Just do a similar kind of thing. So I've got something here, and I've got something here. But do it in a kind of flexible way. So just keep the body going. Non-stop. Just exploring these kind of rotation movements. Yeah, that's it. Got it. Good. That's good. And then the last thing just to concentrate on is like, if we talk about the hara in Japanese, the sense of like the vital center of the body. This is where everything's kind of coming from and coming out of. It's where you were actually, it's where your embryo is kind of formed from, because like that and out, you grow out from that. So you grow out from your center, everything grows out from a center. So in this case, what you want to do is like relocate the body here. So rather than like being based in the vision and like with this idea of like the eyes lead, which is true, get the sense that actually, again, the movement's not only coming from the hips, but I'm like targeting whatever you're looking at or whatever you're going towards. Do it like going to with the center. So it's like the center becomes really the priority again. So really let the body in the center go towards the object. There was a great film a few years ago, quite a while ago now, called Donnie Darko. And he had a vision in the film where it's like everyone had these tunnels coming out of their bodies. And it came from the center. It didn't come from the head. It came from here. And everyone was walking around following these lines of tunnels. But it's got this kind of quality where you want to like follow something here. It's got a kind of spirally tunnely thing here, something here, and I just let it go. And I let the body follow that. It's got that kind of quality. Yeah. And you're not seeing from the center of the body, you're feeling from the center of the body, and you're moving from the center of the body. So it is something else. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Got it. Got it. Okay, great. Take a bokken. Okay, good. So just practice coming from the base. So this really nice long posture just here. In this case, not the toes that are in contact. In this case, it's the heels. So the heels are going to be in contact. Let the body sit back onto the heels and let the weight spread. So you've got like 3 points of contact with the foot. You've got the heel, you've got the base of the big toe, and then you've got the little toe. So you've got that kind of, there's like a triangle that forms with the foot. and then the arch in between, which is going to kind of create a kind of dynamic kind of structure for the foot. So just feel that most of the weight's in the heel, just naturally it's where the body lands, and then just feel these kind of 3 points. Now you've actually got 6 points because you've got 2 feet, hopefully, but you've got like gun, dum, dum. There's like 2 triangles forming from it, and then just listen to the body. So you'll probably get a slight sway. One knee's maybe a bit tighter than the other one, but just get a sense that you can find the balance in it. And you're out of balance anyway because the sword's on the left side. So I need to include the sword here in that kind of stable. So even just standing still, quite a tricky task for us. It requires a lot of kind of alignment work to be done. But in the end, just letting everything settle down and live. Just that. And then just playing with coming into the kamae and keeping that same sense of length, engaging the hips a little bit forward and really coming into the hami. And then just coming back. Just kind of cycle between these two. Try and make it really as clean as possible. So it's kind of here, length, looking out somewhere onto the horizon, looking out, and then just coming forward, meeting it, and then just coming back. Just let everything settle down into the ground. And you want to mix this kind of quality of being grounded with a sense of expanded openness in the upper body, especially through the spine, rib cage. And I want, it's like the sword, I want to hang into the frame of the body. That's the kind of key with this kind of thing. I want to feel like the sword's not just like included, but it's like really just sitting into the frame. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Good. Okay. So just coming a little bit looser now into it. I just want you to kind of move around. The sword's just going to be down, just like this. I want you to feel straight away like this can happen with the shoulders. So straight away I'm going to go into these kind of positions. It's almost natural because everything's like pulling forward, the weight of the sword, everything's going to go into this. And just feel it from this position. Also, I can just have the sense of widening. The best thing to think about is the elbows and the shoulders, just slightly widening. I don't want to pull them out and do this kind of thing. Because this is like working with pulling stuff, but just think about, again, just expansion across the chest. So you've got a sense like this position, I can be here, totally drawn over. I can just, again, have the sense of widening the back. Now the sword's just sitting again into the posture, so it's just something like that. Body's nice and relaxed. And again, just notice the shoulders especially. I want them to really open back. And that really requires one thing, which is this. Just watch this. If I do this, this is why the head's so important for us. If I do this with the head, then the shoulders just automatically get drawn down with it. So if I look down, it's like the shoulders get drawn. This whole part of the body length is shortened, goes like that. Now, as soon as I go, if you imagine, you can touch the back of your head here. You've got a little ball, probably, at the back of your base of your skull here. That part of their head, imagine you're kind of just drawing it up and to the back. So imagine that's like an eyeball. You've got an eye in the back of your head. It's like this. I want that eye to also be out, like looking at the horizon out. I don't want it to be like they're looking somewhere at the ceiling. So just get a sense that it's like that back. Now what that does, if you notice that, what it does is just draws all the shoulders because it creates space here for the shoulders to naturally slot back into the structure. So you've got that kind of feeling. And then as soon as I go there, it's very difficult to maintain a sense of the shoulders open and wide. So not impossible, but this is just to create a nice structure. We've got that. So just feel you can go now from this position, again, keeping that, the base of the skull, kind of here, opened out. And I'm not pushing it back. I'm just creating length through it. So I don't want to create tension by like pulling the chin back and doing this kind of thing. This is really like, I just want to get a sense of length through the back. And it's just about letting the head rest into the structure. And then just feel every so often just come out and maintain that sense of length. And you come back down, coming forward. You also play with the left side as well, a little bit more tricky. Something like long, expanded, open. And just play with like switching between the kamais. And just notice this tendency to like I start looking down, watching the feet. So just keep the sense again, look out onto the horizon. Just feel the body. That's it. And the really important direction here is width across the body. So think about the chest and the shoulders, and also the elbows are included in this. It's it's tricky with the sword because everything's kind of tends to come towards this kind of position. But I want to keep a sense that without like pushing the elbows out, they just naturally rest through the structure that way. Got that kind of quality there. Very tricky to maintain on the left side. Something needs to shift in the rest of the body. That's it. That's it. Just go a little bit to movement now. So I want like an active kamai. So it's quite neutral. It's like a chudan kamai. And then just again, what I'm really interested in now is the center of the body. So not where the hands are, or not what the hands are doing, but how the sword is being included in the center. This is when we talk about anchoring the sword to the center. So which needs a clear grounding with it. So everything's kind of working together, and it's especially now important what I'm doing with the feet. And again, the head, just look out a little bit more. Keep everything nice and release. And again, lengthen through the shoulders. You can also feel like you use the breath also in this case. So if you feel like I'm kind of getting into contraction, use these kind of deep compressive breaths to just open the body out again. And if you feel like it, just come back to this kind of position, because this is where I can really find the width again. So when the arms aren't actively out, I can really get a sense like that. I can open out and then come back into it. So it's just about maintaining width. There. That's it. And this is the easiest kamai to kind of work this feeling. As you go through different kamais, it just gets a bit more challenging. So this is a really nice base form to work with. That's it, good. And just notice maybe there's more tension in the neck, maybe the knees are a bit tight. Just see if you can just free everything up. That's it. That's it. Got it. Nice. Good. And just one exercise you can play with just to introduce like a bit more weight, or a bit more expansion in the body. Just keep the sword in the right hand, kind of over to the side. And you're gonna, as you come in, just really let the body like roll over. So you're gonna do like something like this with the hands. So it's got a sense of like the kamai is coming in over around a circle this way. This gives me a much more bigger sense of like coming into it. What we tend to do is like make this like a tunnel kind of movement. And it becomes quite short. So just get a sense that you can really drop it down, let the sword settle the body. And you can do this from this side as well. We can do this from the back side, but just get a sense of like something drawing in. And what I'm really interested in this case is, it's a bit like, this is really like when we do koki work. What I'm interested in is the movement coming from the back and the hips. So that kind of movement rather than that kind of movement. So it's something much more expanded. Feel the whole carriage of the back and the kind of posterior chain, everything from the glutes, the lower back. is just going to get engaged through that motion. So feel the whole spine is like anchoring the sword in place, coming into Kamae this way. Just play with it there, and then just comes into it. It's a really exaggerated way to get into Kamae. That's it. And just do a few like this, you get into the Kamae, draw into it, and then just move with it again. And as soon as I feel like I've lost it, drop it again. Drop out of it, come back into it. And as long as I can hold that together, that feeling's there, expanded, open, connected. As soon as it goes, whoa, drop it. So I just want to work in that kind of state. As soon as I feel it's gone, just get back into it using this kind of big open Kamae. And again, use the breath to expand the body a little bit, open everything out. Yeah, that's it. Got it. Good. Okay, good. So we're just going to the first wriggle, but keeping all this kind of stuff in mind, you come into the Kamae, keep a sense again, open, length, and especially width in this case. So we're going to focus just on this direction today. It goes like this. You're going to roll to the back. Really feel the shoulders can open out. So they're not going to like push to the back, and I'm not going to pull the elbows over. But I'm just, again, it's just this sense of raising and expanding. This. It keeps this kind of width. And as you go down, maintain it through the body. So you go like here, then open, open and expand it, and then just maintain it as you go down. The easy thing is to get it. The hard part is to maintain it. That's the kind of tricky part for us. We tend to go in and out of it. So coming to the back, kind of no problem really. Open, nice and long. And then to maintain that sense as I go into the cut, something active, pretty tricky. So just get a sense for it like that. Something there. And there. Also use the breath if you like. In this case, the raise is the breath in, and the cut obviously is the breath out. Yeah, so. That's good. That's it, nice. Nice. Okay, so it's a kind of strange thing for us. This thing of like breaking the vertical. So as we go from this position, the body, the spine's nice and long, erect, and then as you go in, I need to engage the spine into the movement. Now, everything you do as a human body is like a counterbalancing. So we're always counterbalancing, but I don't want to force that. So I don't want to do two things in this case. There's one thing is like this, like maintaining the vertical while I'm pulling this, while I'm like pushing this arc out, because then I'm doing two things because I've got that coming out and the body's like pulling back to balance it. So that's like a counterbalance I don't want. The other counterbalance I don't want is in the hip. Just watch this. I can push the sword out and pull the hips back, so you've got that kind of sense. Now, that kind of motion's like, it's not wrong, it's just excessive, because you are counterbalancing with the body. It's just the way the body's structured that we use counterbalancing. If you didn't use counterbalance, you just boom, fall to the ground. But anyway, what you want is something that's like there, something here, and it's again a sense of length. I don't want to make the spine rigidly straight, but I want a sense of length through it. And I want, the key part is that the hips flex, but they don't do that. So they don't like collapse and push out. So you've got like a flexion happening in the hip. That without that and without that, no flexion. So just play a little bit with the hips, where the hip mobility is really important. This is what we call like breaking the vertical. So this is like coming into the cut. It's got a really specific feel when you can kind of catch it. Boom. The hips flex and the structure just sits into the hip. Yeah. There we go. That's so good. Right. Good. And the second thing for us is a really tricky thing is like the expansion in the cut. So this, what we talk about when we talk about extension, I prefer expansion because it's a bit more closer to what I feel about it. Like the main thing is this, like, just work on this now. I can cut with a sense of like, gum. Everything's like close to the body. Or I can cut with a sense like stretching out. This is where all the joints like go into these kind of positions. And it's almost inevitable I start to really do excessive kind of counterbalance and stuff. So just play with the cut close to the body, cut far away, and then just try and see if you can find a place where it's like just naturally that. For me, it's about a fist and a half away from the center. That's for me. So it will be different for you because you've got different fists and you've got different bodies. But get a sense that you want to find exactly the right point when I feel like that the body just engages into the cut that way. Now the way to find this is just cut into it, cut in, and then drop the sword. If I can drop it with no adjustments happening in the body, I know I'm around the right place. If I cut like this, and then I drop the sword, the body has to adjust to come back to balance. So it should be like dynamic balance as you go into it. So it's about the arms, but it's actually about the center. In there, just somewhere around there. And just see if you can find this like sweet spot where you're not stretching out and you're not like compressing out. You're just extending through the arc. Again, this is where the Saburi are really like kokyu movements. Something about opening and expanding. There we go. And really play with it, like cut too short, cut too far. Just so you can really get a clear idea of. You have to know what's too far and you have to know what's too short, basically. So you've got a really, really clear contrast. Yeah, so far, boom. So far, that's it. Oh, okay, good. Okay, the second just go for this now, just go basically into the Saburi. The second feedback I can get on my cut is when I initiate the rise up. So if what I'm doing is like out here, in order to initiate the rise, I've got to pull the arms back to structure to do it. So I'll find out like if I'm here, straight away I want to raise up. The arms are stretched out from the center. So if they've lost the center, they need to pull back towards the center. So this kind of thing will happen. So the arms are kind of drawn back up. The feedback on that is like, if I can just sit into the structure here, as I go, I can just initiate the center. Here, center. And the hands will just follow that movement. So there's no feeling that I need to pull back to the center because the hands have never left the center in the first place. So just get a feeling for this now when you go into the Saburi. You've got that, settles down, and then just boom. Again, you're releasing the sword with the footwork, but the movement's being initiated really from the hip, which is a kind of strange feeling. Yeah, that's it. And just notice those kind of extra movements that maybe happen. When I'm slightly off center, I'm slightly stretched out. The body's not in like an ideal structure, and it's going to start to pull back. Yeah. Yeah. Huh, good. Nice. Got it. Okay, this is where the grip really matters as well. So technical details really matter. Zoom's not ideal for these kind of things, but just watch for this. Like if I'm in these kind of positions, I'm not sure from this way. If I'm in this kind of position, I'm like really on the side of the sword. So I'm kind of, if I go to that position, it would be like that. So this like the thumb, the top of the thumb, the base of the thumb here is on top of the sword, and the rest of the hand's like draped around the side of it. So I'm in this kind of position. If I'm in this kind of position, what I need to do to kind of maintain the grip on the sword is like pull with the arms. So it requires like a contraction to happen. So when I cut with this kind of feeling, in order to keep the sword from skipping out of the grip, I've got to tighten it. So I've got to do something like this with the whole structure of the arm, because the hand's not enough to hold it. The hand's basically going to slip out of it. So in order to do that, I structure the hands like this. So I do something like this with the arms. So I'm basically working the bicep and pulling towards it. Now, when I go to making the next cut, I need to like release that as well. So you end up with like these kind of things. I'm really exaggerating it, but that small detail of shifting the hands will really change how you do the cut. So just get a sense that you can drop the hand on top of it this way. So what I'm really interested in is that part of the hand. So if that's the base of the hand, the heel of the hand, that wants to be really pressing into it. Now that means I don't need to go to anything which is like that or that. I can just let the arm like sit on top of the sword. So it's like dong, that. Now just notice like as soon as I go to that, very subtle shift, the sword's really not in a comfortable position. So it will start to skip out of the grip, and then I need to introduce some tension in the arms to hold it. So just notice again, just play with it so you can really feel it. So get the cut like this, and then just also play with the grip. I can shift the grip there. Oh, and then I feel like this. This all goes to tighten. The sword's just skipping out every time. So just get a feel for it so you can, and you really want to feel every time that you can draw to a position where the sword really just feels comfortable in the hands. It's a little bit like a hammer grip, how we would use a sledgehammer, but not quite. Not quite, but more similar to a hammer than anything else. Good. Yeah. Good. Boom. And the next thing with the handwork is like, if I get the position right, the other thing I can get not so great is like I'm pushing with one side. So one hand starts to dominate. Tends to be for most people the right hand. The right hand tends to push out. So you end up with things like coming here and then pushing the right hand out, something like that. This will just screw the whole body up. So, and again, you need to kind of counterbalance everything too much to hold it. So just play with the idea here of just the hands alternately gripping. So they're alternately just coming in to seal the connection. So that, 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 that. And I want to feel the hands I can independently control them. You can also just do this one-handed, one side, that, 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 dong, dong. But just do one at a time. Dong, 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 dong. And you go to any position when you do this, but easy one is that one because everything's just coming down. It's a bit like beating a drum. Boom. Now you'll notice you don't get, what you don't get is this effect. So you don't get the kind of wave coming through the sword because it's just one side, it's just one hand. So it will just, the sword will just like, boom, will just stop. Boom, will just stop. Boom, will just stop because it's just got one kind of connection. There, 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 there. That's it. Now you'll notice one thing is like the left hand doesn't have an incredible amount of stability in the sword. It can really move the sword through the arc, but it's quite unstable because all the weight's in front of it. The sword's really, the katana is really designed for two hands. So just get a feel now, you can lightly have the grip, lightly the grip. And then what I want you to feel is like that, there, and then boom, the hands come together. Release, 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 boom, together. Release, release, boom, together. Release, together. And just play with it. Raise it, raise it, raise it, together. Together, one. Backhand, front hand, together. Backhand, front hand, together. Just play with this. I really need the hands to be working together, like synchronized together, totally. Boom, right at the same time. But you get this by like independently fixing the hands. But I really want neither hand to dominate in that moment. That's it. That's it. Yeah, John, good. Yeah. Okay. Just one thing which is a bit specific. I can see a little bit. Just watch. It might be a bit hard to show, but just watch this. I'm like I can seal the grip also, but I can also do something like that, which is like I call this like kinking the wrist. I don't want to kink the wrist and do like that too much. So I just want the wrist to actually go into that position. So it's actually if I'm kinking the wrist like that, then I'm not doing the kokyu work. So because the kokyu work really for us is like that. Now that's included in the kokyu work, but that's that. So I actually want something like that to happen. So it's like that whole structure of the wrist, quite tricky to show. Maybe that, like that kind of position. But the moment I do that, I kink the wrist. So again, I'm doing something else that I actually don't really want to do. So it's something like that rather than that. So this is like pushing the wrist out, breaking the wrist structure. Possible to do, but it's a little bit different. So I just want the sense of the wrist and that. So the way to get that is like get the feeling like the front hand can also just kind of find kokyu. Gong, gong. It's got that kind of quality. The moment it does that, it's pushing out. And again, you're breaking the wrist structure a little bit. Yeah. Gong. That's it. Good. Good. Okay, good. We're just going to the handwork. So just without the sword, all this kind of kokyu work comes from the sword work. So it makes sense to kind of come from the sword and then back into the handwork. So just play with this. So it's just like this kind of movement. Now this is like total wrist mobility stuff. Forearm, elbow. So the hands, you can also just put one on top of the other. So it's like that. And I just want the feeling like that can happen. And it's really experimenting with like that mobility. Now I don't want to lock the wrist up and like do something like that, but it's something much more subtle happening in the wrist. And this really from the sword work. So you've got the sense of raising and dropping down. There. And just make it as big as you like. So like there. So that's it. Yeah, so the same thing can happen. Just watch this. I can do like this, and then I do something like that. I'm exaggerating it, but if I do something like that, I'm like sticking the fingers into the ground. But actually what I want to do is like, go, is that, it's something more like that. Now, when you do that with the sword, that's happening, but it's not like that. It's like that. So in this case, it's like this, 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 but not that. That's like empty. That's it. That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good, good. Yeah. Yeah. Nice, John. Very nice. Nice. I think cocky work's one of the hardest things to kind of get a handle on. It takes a long time, but the sooner you can kind of make this link to this, that it's really just sword work, expanded out, really starts to make a lot of sense. There we go. Got it. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good. Okay, great. Some of you already going to this, which is good. You're going to go like here now. This distance is really from the sword work, so the hands working together like this along the center line. This comes from sword work. The moment we go to like empty hand, the hands are naturally just going to start to move and open. So the same action and the same mobility, don't lose any of that. You're going to like just raise it up now. If you're in this position, just raising it up and then just sinking it down. Don't worry about the coming down, but just now about this raise up. So it's just there and then sinking it back down. So catch it. If you imagine you've got a ball, it's just like raising the ball up. Raising the ball up. And just play a little bit with this. You can move the feet or not. You can shift the leg back. You can shift the leg forward, or you can just keep the leg down. Actually, it doesn't matter. Because essentially what you're doing is the same. You're like draining the center down. Boom, and you're raising the hands. This. You can also play just with one side, but the key is that it's a lot more open now. From going from here to here. Here, there. Here, there. Here, there. It's got that kind of quality there. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Caroline. Yeah, here we go. Got it. Yeah, 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 good. Okay, the main issue with this is the position of the hands. So just watch this. If I do like this, I'm starting to like, my energy is actually coming out that way. So I'm starting to spread. Now, just have the sense that you're not actually like spreading out, but you're actually pressing forward this way. So it's like, it's what the Japanese call the tegatana, the blade of the hand. That's really coming forward into the space. So it's got this kind of quality. Now, at the same time, the hips are doing that same action as well. So it's like that. The moment I do that, the hips also start to spread out. So I don't want the sense of like spreading. I want a sense of being wide, but I don't want a sense of pushing out. So just get a sense that you can do something like that. The start, it feels quite narrow. It feels like, something like this. The more width I can introduce in the shoulders and the rib cage, through the cocky work, through the breath work, then the more I can start to feel that that's actually expansion, expansion, expansion up that way. That's it, that's it, that's it. That's it, got it. Got it, got it, got it. That's it. Great. Okay, last one that really raises the sword weight, and it's just a really simple one. It's like coming into the Taina Henko position, but you just raise up, nice and light, and then sink it down this way. Now, in this case, don't focus so much on the raise being like this. I don't want to lock the hands together. But in this case, just raise the arms up. And then the key part now is the sink, the drain down. So you've got that. Just raise the hands up. They can be very soft, like this. The elbow's heavy. And then the feeling's just like initiate the hip, find the handwork. Hips, hips. So it's much more now about the hips. And really just feel that this is the same action as the sword cut. This, and that. You're just much more wide in the handwork. That, and really make that movement really full. There's a way I can do this quite light. It's just sinking the hands down, but just get a sense that it's something like expansive and full. Again, this is where how I use the breath will really change the movement as you do it. Got it. Just a couple more. Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. All right, just the last few things to watch out for in this. Again, it's like dissipation. So when you do this move, watch for this. This is happening where, again, I'm like dissipating out. The other thing I need to watch for is that I'm not contracting like this. So this is really too narrow. So because the shoulders, the carriage, everything goes into contraction. So if I look at, again, this kind of decompressive thing, it's like somewhere here. So I feel this whole area is free. The moment I feel like it's pulled out or it's compressed in, I want to get into something a bit more wide across the chest, a bit more full, and a bit more centered in the hips. Now, the moment the hands are in place, that's kind of possible. The moment I'm there or that, still start to change it. So just the last few, just notice it. You can be too wide, you can be too narrow. Just expand it and open.
And am I right that you can see a slight emphasis on dropping there at the bottom of the move?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you do this, my feeling's really like impacting the ground with that part of the hand. So if I think about whatever, I've got like a cushion or something, I think about that. So it's like the underside of the arms, like boom, impacting down. And that's got the same quality from the sword work, like gum. Now there's a difference between like, I'm not like pushing it down, but I'm just letting it settle into the hip. So it's that feeling of like hitting the ground with the hand. So it's like, it's got that kind of quality, that whole part. And at the same time, the whole hand's kind of open and expanding. It's got that kind of quality, yeah. That's it. Got it. Okie dokie. Got it. That's it. Nice, Bettina. Good. Great. Good. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, I lost it. Yeah. Good. Okay, good. So if you want to play with this, the main thing, just play with the sword work like this. The first suburi, really the base for that movement. And then you've got just these three stages. You've got this with the handwork, that. And then you've got the separation. So you've got this movement and then coming back. So from this position, this. And then you've got this movement where you come into the triangle, come in here. You can also take this the other way where you come into this position and come into koku work this way. For me, also the tiny ankle is a nice step because it really mirrors the way the hands and the hip work in the sword work. So you've got that, and then that part. It's just like that, something like that. Okay, so that's how you can work with it. Always go back to the sword as well. So I keep the sword handy just to get the feeling back in the sword work. So, okay, really about. Domo, arigato, gozaimasu.
Domo.
Yoki.
Thank you.
Pretty good.